live with the former U.S. Ambassador to Canada and co-founder of Uncharted, Bruce Heyman. Bruce, so glad you're here this morning to sort of give us your thoughts. It's still early. We don't have sort of, confirmed results at this point in terms of the overall result, but what are you taking from what you've seen in the results so far from these midterms?
Good news for democracy, good news for women and their right to choose, good news for Canada, I think, especially since Donald Trump was the big loser last night, and many of his MAGA supporting, disciples have fallen in this last 24 hours. Still, as you mentioned, the House and the Senate have not been decided yet, but it's going to be much closer. Typical midterms like this, on average since World War II, you lose about 28 seats in the House and 4 seats in the Senate, and it's not going to come anything close to that.
And Bruce, let's focus on one of the big flips from the midterms is Pennsylvania. John Fetterman defeating the other candidate there, Dr. Mehmet Oz. What does that signal to you? Is it because his campaign kind of ran on this guy who appeals to, the working class who don't have university degrees, and it's a signal of where the Democrat strategy is going?
I think it's really important, both short-term and longer-term. Longer-term meaning the next couple of years, 2024. Pennsylvania is an incredible swing state and one that Democrats need to win in 24 to keep the presidency. What it says today is that people are coming out to vote for the issues that are longer term rather than the shorter term issues that they're facing. And don't underestimate those issues like inflation and crime, but longer term, the protection of democracy, a women's right to choose, fair treatment of people of all different backgrounds, races, religions, and sexual orientation. Students, young people turned out, many of these college towns, we've really seen a turnout that we haven't seen in a long time. That's a big story that's going to come out of the last 24 hours.
It's also interesting, though, isn't it, Bruce, that, generally speaking, when you're in an inflationary period like this where people are concerned about, basically the bottom line, are they going to be able to make it through the next 2 or 3 months? That's generally not good for a sort of ruling/governing party, however you want to describe that. But it seems at this point that the Democrats maybe have kind of slipped one through here in terms of, hanging on to a little bit based on the fundamentals of the economy.
We do have to remember we're at 3.7% unemployment. So people are working. Yes, they're impacted by inflation. And I think that people are getting to understand, and you should understand in Canada as well as in the US and elsewhere, the inflation is global. A large part of it's due to COVID and supply chains around the world being disrupted. A large part due to a war with Ukraine and Russia and energy prices increasing and food. So a large part of this are circumstances that have nothing to do with whether you're a prime minister or a president. It has to do with the global issues.
Okay, former U.S. Ambassador to Canada and co-founder of Uncharted, Bruce Heyman, thank you so much for joining us this morning to talk about this.
Pleasure.
Thanks so much, Bruce.